And let me tell you, it hasn't all been smooth sailing for us. Is that dog?
What do you want?
Do you hear me?
Okay. Many of us are chasing that next big idea, and you can sink countless hours into working out what the best solutions to these frustrations are. Some of the biggest and brightest companies in the world are born of frustrations. Take Stripe, for instance. Collison created the business out of a frustration of a lack of online payment solutions. Butterfield created Slack out of a frustration of not being able to get onto his employees or co-workers quick enough. Chouinard created Patagonia out of a frustration of a lack of climbing equipment and ended up building one of the most impactful organizations in the world. Same goes for Ember. We were born out of the frustrations of the current standard that a business owner has when it comes to managing their accounting and tax. The first, they DIY and enlist the support of an accounting software that was built for the accountant and not themselves. Well, the second, they go and pay an overpriced expensive accountant to do it for them, but lose full transparency and control over what's actually happening in their business. I'm lucky enough to have found a problem that I'm passionate about solving, but we all know that not every business idea that we have will be the one to change the lives of millions of people. Take last year, for example. Of the 800,000 businesses that were formed in the UK, 20% of those will fail in year 1, 50% by year 2, and only 33% of those businesses will make it to 10 years plus. Now, this is not designed to scare you off from starting that dream business, but what I am trying to do is arm you with the knowledge of what it takes to be one of the 33%. And let me tell you, it hasn't all been smooth sailing for us, and it won't be in the vast majority of cases. For example, we've asked ourselves many a question along the way. Would we be able to change the minds of business owners about the way they think about their accountant? Could we simplify such a complex topic? And should we go toe-to-toe with those incumbent giants who have got an iron grip on the industry? I'll be talking from the experience I've gained at Ember of taking us all the way from idea conception through to where we are now as one of the fastest growing UK startups to help you validate as to whether that idea is the one that will change the world. Now, in my opinion, the old school business plan is dead. But there are still 5 key fundamental questions that you need to ask yourself that it used to validate. How well does your solution solve the problem? Take Juicero, for example, a Silicon Valley-backed startup that built Wi-Fi enabled juicers to help users squeeze their juice. The users found out that they could actually squeeze the juice with their own hands more effectively than the expensive juicer itself. How big is the problem? You don't want to be selling raincoats in the Sahara. What's really helpful here is to understand your total addressable market, your TAM. More on that later. For example, Ember is solving the tax and accounting headache for 5.4 million business owners across the UK. Is your solution realistic, and will you make money out of it? As the great man Marty Kagan once said in his book Inspired, it doesn't matter how talented your engineering team is if they aren't building anything worthwhile. Now, keep this in mind when you consider usability. Can the user actually use the product? Feasibility. Will you be able to realistically build it? Value. Are they going to get the end value of what they paid you for it? And business viability. Will you be able to sell it profitably with all of the selling overheads that come alongside? How easy can it be integrated into the everyday? Are there huge amounts of upskilling or learning that come alongside using your product? For example, at Ember, what we do is get rid of all that accounting jargon that exists in today's day and age. Debits, credits, accounts payable, so that you don't need a finance degree in order to use us. You can pick up the app and understand at any point in time where your business is at, reducing that time to onboard and increasing that time to value for an end user. At Ember, we have humans in the loop, meaning that we have actual accountants sitting internally who service our end client base on top of the product we've built. This is different from a lot of other traditional pure software players in that they just sell their software, which means that we're not doing something that is immediately scalable, but has a path to scalability, because what we are doing is automating internally about 90% of what an accountant historically did manually, meaning that with the more businesses we bring on, the less accountants we need to hire in order to service those businesses. Now, having the idea is all well and good, but knowing whether it will be successful or not relies on you having a good understanding of the commercial landscape. One of the key concepts to understand within this is what's known as your total addressable market. I know we referred to this before, but what it really is the total revenue opportunity of all the customers that sit within your target. Now, there are a few ways in which you can work this out. There's the top-down method, which means what you do is understand everyone that fits within your target market and multiply that by the average revenue per user that you can make within that market. The next ingredient is timing. Are you too early to the market and you have to educate your users on how to actually use your product? Think about Google Glass here and how before its time that was. It might be successful in the future, but it's not for the present. Or are you too late and you're already battling with all those competitors for the target market? Will there be any future external events that will change the number of people who use your product? For example, in the UK, there's a huge legislation shift happening known as Making Tax Digital, which will result in an influx of around 4.3 million business owners who need to use approved software. Now, that's a direct increase in our target market just from one simple legislation change. Following on from this is the pool of potential customers growing, shrinking, or stagnating. Entrepreneurship and the freelance gig economy across the UK is booming at the moment. So if your idea is going into this, it means you're going to an expanding market. But if you're going into the printing industry or the fossil fuels industry, you're going into something that is about to be completely reinvented and is definitely on the decline. The final piece of the puzzle is pricing. You need to make sure your product is affordable enough for your users to buy, yet still makes you enough profit as a business to be successful. You also need to think about the different revenue streams you can add to your business down the line. Taking Amazon as a key example here. They started off selling books online, and now one of their main revenue streams is Amazon Web Services. So you've got your idea and you understand the commercial landscape that it sits in. The next part is executing. Whilst you can run a business by yourself, what's worked for me really effectively is finding the right co-founder. You need to make sure if you're going to do this that they have complementary skills to your own. For example, if you're building a technology company, make sure they're a technical co-founder and they always need to challenge you on your beliefs. You can't go into business with somebody who's going to be a yes person. Although it can feel like a lonely game sometimes, laying the foundations for a successful business relies heavily on you hiring the right people, which means from the get-go, you need to make sure you have a vision and mission that everybody wants to get behind. You can't do everything yourself. Ask yourself what success looks like for your business and how you're going to measure this. There are a whole load of different ways in which you can do this depending on what industry you're in. For SaaS companies, and what we do is measure things like monthly recurring revenue, customer acquisition costs, churn, net revenue retention, all the buzzwords that help us really understand whether we're being successful or not as a business. If you want your business to be the MVP, you're going to have to build that MVP, the minimum viable product that will help you start bringing cash in. If you've got a really capital intensive business, you're gonna have to go out to investors and convince them that your idea is the one to back. After you've got the capital, you then start building out the team and going to market. If you have a less capital intensive business and you've got a path to profitability, you can bootstrap up until the time when you can start reinvesting those profits. And when you're really ready to scale, you can look at bringing on external investment. Thanks for listening, and I really hope you've learned something about launching that next big idea. I'll be sharing some more knowledge that I've accumulated over the years as co-founder of Ember. So please make sure to ask me any business related questions in the comments below. Please like, subscribe, and share with all of your friends, and we'll see you next time.